The mama's boys are upset.
The mama's boys are upset, yeah.
Well, and the passport bros still think that that one clip is like...
Oh, they think that I'm pro passport.
Yeah, they think that you're saying the things that you were reading in that comment because they're like, yeah, this is the truth. And I'm like, yeah, they're not watching anything but this clip. So,
yeah. Well, that's okay. They can think it, so.
But yeah, the mama's boys were really upset.
Me. Yeah. I wouldn't think that people would agree with that you should be a mama's boy. Like,
look, I think they get confused because a man should care about his mother.
Of course, yeah.
But if she does everything for him to the point he can't do a lot of things on his own, or he's looking for a woman specifically to do certain things because he just doesn't want to do them or whatever, that's different than wanting a traditional marriage where, yeah, the woman is probably going to take over some of those duties that your mother did when you were a kid, but it's not, they don't understand that it's not the same thing that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the men who like really don't want to handle any of those things, including like finances and things like that. And they do sort of turn the woman that they're with into a mother figure rather than the wife figure.
And I believe many women in the comments said nobody wants to have sex with someone they have to take care of.
So, very true.
That's
but then the guys too, they were like, well, what about daddy's girls? And they don't know anything and they want somebody to pay for all their stuff, which to their point, I don't think a parent should overly do things for their children anyway, because as a parent, you're supposed to be setting your child up for success when they're out on their own and to be independent and things like that. But at the same time, too, they're the same guys that talk about they want a traditional relationship, but then they are complaining about having to provide their part of that.
Yeah, and look, a princess. You do want a princess, okay? You do want to marry a princess. You don't want a woman with daddy issues, do you? Is that what you want for a wife? Is a woman with daddy issues? Is that so? If a woman is a daddy's girl, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, right?
What do men even mean by daddy's issues? Like she's insecure and looks for attention in the wrong way?
Yeah, that's what I mean. A woman with daddy issues is because she didn't get the affection from her father, and so she seeks male affection for her esteem, right? Whereas a father, a good father figure that takes care of a daughter and treats her like a princess or treats her right, like the lady that the man that eventually marries her should treat her like, he instills in her self-esteem and confidence
and worth.
And so she doesn't have to seek her self-esteem or confidence elsewhere. She doesn't become a pole dancer.
I wonder where you got that one from.
But yeah, so that's the kind of woman that you do want as a man. You know what I mean? That it can be to an extreme where she's too princessy and she thinks that the world should be served to her on a platter
around her.
Yeah, and that could be an issue, but you want it to be more on that side of it than the other side of it, for sure. So
I've just come to the conclusion that men love to complain and they try to act like women do. And I'm not saying that women don't, like plenty of women do too, but as we've come to learn that you say one thing, they complain about the opposite, and then you'll be like, they can't complain about this, and then they find some new ways to do that.
As you'll notice now, right, because there's been enough time and you've seen it's the same guys.
Yeah, I do notice
so these guys ruin it for everyone. You know what I mean? Because they make it seem like, because they're so active and so vocal, they make it seem like it's all guys, just like some women ruin it for all women. But yeah, it's and that's the weird thing about social media too, is it's like 100,000 people see your thing and 20, 30 angry guys comment on it, and you're like, oh, this is what the perception is, but that's not entirely true, but it does show you that there are definitely people that are silent and think the same thing too. So there is that. But yeah, the the mama's boy thing just surprised the heck out of me.
Yeah, I was surprised.
And what a lot of men need to read is a book called Iron John by Robert Bly. And so that's actually a really good book about a man's journey through, it's allegorical. So it's a man's journey in becoming a man, essentially in breaking away from his father and his mother, right? Because men generally, boys, their mother takes care of them. They have this sort of bond with their mother, and they have to sever that bond. And in the same way, they have to overthrow their father's rule over them. So that's what it is to be a man. And most men just aren't growing up today, and that's what the problem is. And that's why, being a mama's boy is, it just means you have not matured. You haven't passed that stage. And so many guys grow into adulthood, and they're calling their mom every day. They're asking their mom to help them with it. It's like, you can't do that. You have to, and your wife, we've talked about this before on the podcast about, your wife has to come first.
Yeah. And I was going to say the real issue with a lot of the like severe mama's boys, like I was talking about on that clip in that episode, is that typically those mothers push away their sons' partners because they're so like involved in their son's life that it's almost like that borderline kind of weird, like romantic, but not obviously, but there's plenty of people that have heard about like mother-in-laws that are like hate their sons' wives or girlfriends and try to like ruin their relationship because the mother wants the son all to herself and all of those things. And that's typically what that severe like mama's boy relationship, that's what the mother side usually looks like. She's so like obsessed with her son, and then he's so obsessed with her because she's been taking care of him and doing all these things for him, and she can't, ever let her down or anything like that. So it's just typically this extreme version. I'm not talking about men who, because there was quite a few guys that were like, no, my mom taught me how to treat women well and, do things for myself. And I'm like, I'm not talking about I'm not saying a mama's boy that cares about his mother. No. Like every man should care about his mother. I'm talking about the ones that literally couldn't survive without their mother and well into adulthood still do things like that. And then when they get into a relationship, then the mother tries to intervene because they've had such this tight connection the whole time. That's the sort of relationship that I was talking about. But a lot of men also took it the wrong way with, oh, well, no, I learned how to actually treat women better. And I'm like, yeah, if you care about your mother, you will treat women better because you have a good connection with your mom. But if she does everything for you and basically essentially turns you into a super lazy, has no motivation and no pride and sort of man, then it's not helping you. She's not helping you. Yeah, and she's actually hurting you.
And you'll see this a lot in sort of old country, Middle Eastern cultures, right? Even where, my origins in Turkey, right? Where the women will treat the men, the boys, like so much better than the girls, and they'll just pump up their ego and make them like their little precious boy, right? And it's like it's so destructive because now you've created this man child, right? Where he expects women to just serve him, and he's not capable of doing the things on his own, right? And so it's
he doesn't have to do anything except be a man to be served, right? Because in those cultures too, it's about being born a male. It's not even like you have to do anything. It's just because you're a boy. So it's like he also doesn't typically want to better himself or be a better man because he's already getting the praise for it. Exactly. So he doesn't have to work for anything.
Yeah. And then you have the problem of these guys also, it almost becomes like a matriarchy where they're still asking their mom for everything, advice on everything. She's running their lives. They run everything by their mom, and it's no good. And again, a lot of it comes down to if you just look at the marriage ceremony and how it works and what the differences are. When someone gets married, when a man gets married and a woman gets married, the the father gives away the daughter to the groom, right? And there's a reason for that, is because the man has already left his family, right? And he has become independent on his own. The woman, in many times, is still considered to be part of the family that she grew up in, because the father's job is to take care of the woman until she becomes married, right? Traditionally. And then he gives her away. He's now entrusting his daughter to this man, right?
To take care of her
right.
in the
And
same
so,
way. Yeah.
and that's why it is more acceptable for a woman to be a daddy's girl or whatever versus a man being a mama's boy, because that's not how it's supposed to be. So
Each other better than